So let's get to Paul. Paul, by the way, you're in, is it Alpharetta?
Midtown.
Midtown. Oh, okay. I thought you were, for some reason, I thought you were out. So yeah, he's in Atlanta. And I actually connected with Paul through some forums on the bubble.io website. And Paul is a Bubble developer, and that's what he's talking about tonight. But he also has a background in writing software. And I love kind of the perspective that he has of he started first with code and discovered no code and loves no code. So I love that perspective. And so I wanted to have him here to share what no code is and talk about what he does. So I'm going to let him take over.
Sweet. So first of all, thank you everyone for taking the time. I know time is precious. So and also Brenton for hosting this. Setting up the logistics sometimes can be a nightmare. I've done this before. So anyway, so thank you guys for joining. So let me share my screen. I do have some slides. Personal slides for you guys. If you can allow me to share, Brenton.
Okay, there we go. I enabled sharing. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Okay, so I'm gonna share my desktop. I hope I have nothing bad here. All right. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, good. So I'm gonna title this, I titled this Welcome to No Code because it's more than just Bubble. I like to think of it as just a new way to build software. And pardon me if I bash on coding, I'm definitely not. I think there's space for both of these worlds to exist. But anyway, so today I'm gonna talk about no code and why a new way to build software. Before I dive more into that, let's kind of, for the folks that are just getting started, see what it is building software today. So I found this website, roadmap.sh, for the folks that are learning how to become web developers. Most likely than not, they're gonna encounter something, a map that looks this diagram, this image. So before I dive into this, building for the web today is not, it has become quite complicated. So now you see all these different roles from, a backend engineer to a front-end engineer to a DevOps engineer. So for anyone just starting out, they're like, okay, what is that I want to learn? And then you go to online, I want to become a web developer, and there's a bunch of resources. Why so many resources? Because now to build for the web, you have to kind of understand a lot of this stuff, from just a simple HTML, CSS, JavaScript, to package managers, to task runners, to build tools. It's complicated. It's not that easy. So when I started, it wasn't all this. It was just basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and some jQuery. So definitely when I started for the web is much simpler. So for folks today getting into code, I understand it's not, it might seem like, oh my goodness, to build an app, I have to do all this? Do I have to kind of go and learn all this? And I had mentees before, and sometimes I don't know what to tell them, because I'm like, it is gonna be a struggle to digest all this, and especially if you join a boot camp where they teach all this stuff in 3-4 months. It's intense. So why I'm very excited about no code, because a lot of this stuff is kind of hidden from you. So this is where I transition into no code. Today, we are seeing a lot more of no code tools, and you're gonna probably have seen online apps like Webflow or Bubble or Car or Zapier, Glide, and all this stuff is just to kind of build applications quickly. To, for example, let's say you want to have a landing page for, I don't know, you have a business that you want to set up a quick landing page. You can use something like Cart, and this is a no-code tool. Why? Because you don't have to write up that HTML yourself, that CSS yourself. So you don't have to wire all the stuff up. Let me just go back to my diagram yourself, like deploy this into some repo out there in the wild. All the stuff is done for you. So let me do a little more hands-on here. So if you use something like Card, you're gonna encounter something like this. I haven't planned to show this, but let me, for example, this is a template I have called Yummy Burger. And what this is, let's say you want to set up a restaurant website. This literally took me, I don't know, 10, 30 minutes to set up. Very, very quick way for me to, you know, hey, I see a favorite restaurant of mine out there here in Atlanta, and I know they need a website. I go ahead and pull up Cart. I go and drag and drop all this stuff, and I can do this for them. So again, this is one way to kind of set up websites today using no-code tools, a very fast way. But what I'm more excited about is that this will give you only so far. Now, apps are a little more complicated than just these static websites. So if you want to actually charge money in no code, in the no code world, a place where you might want to spend your time and actually do some learning is on platforms like, back to my slide, like Bubble. So before I go any further, again, Card, simple. I just show you a very simple platform where you can just set up static websites, link pages. Webflow is a more fancier version of that. Wix, very similar. I'm not sure if how many of you guys have heard of Notion, but I use Notion all the time. Very similar concept. You can store a lot of your content in there. So all these tools are very, I will say a little limited because they don't give you what I'm gonna show you that Bubble does give you, which is like you can build like marketplace, you can build social, like even a social media application using Bubble. So all right, so what is Bubble? This is Bubble's definition, which is a visual programming language that lets you build web applications without code. So I'm gonna show you a screenshot what the platform actually looks like. Essentially this, it's a grid where you literally drag and drop components. What you're seeing right now is actually an app I'm building. And the idea is there's local vendors out there that probably have no clue what Shopify is, have no clue what Cart is, but they sell food outside and they might want to wait for their customers to go and order through a very simple website where they can see the picture of the food and they can just order and they see the order coming up on their phone and they can start preparing that order for their customers. So I figured, there's a lot of many builders out there. There's a lot of this concept out there, but there's none for Spanish speaking people, which is what you're seeing right now. It's for the Spanish market. So I figured, let me do something like that in Bubble. So how does this look like? So let me actually play it. So next slide, I have a GIF where this is just kind of gives you a quick preview of what this is. You can't do this in Cart or Shopify or whatever other tool out there. At least I haven't seen it. There's other competitors for Bubble, definitely, but Bubble is by far the one that gets you there the fastest without using code. So, okay, that was just a quick sneak peek of what Bubble can do. but there's definitely a lot more other powerful apps out there. A few that I found, this one called Peer Share, which is an Airbnb rental platform for private dock spaces. Now, a few years back, I was like, yeah, you can't do this um, without code. Like, you need code. Like, how are you gonna set up the sellers and buyers in this case, like a marketplace, like the folks trying to find these dogs, like the login system. But today, I mean, we have apps out there in the wild that are written with no code in big platforms like this. Another platform is like Talent Acquisitions, which is a marketplace where you can create and sell your web projects. And the idea behind this is like, there's a lot of people out there with websites that they have built or tools they have built, and they might want to sell it. But they're not so advanced where they can sell it for big amount of money. So they put into this website called Talent Acquisitions, and literally they just go sell websites or their apps. And this has been built in Bubble. Actually has seen this built from just idea, like the Bubble developer, I think he put this idea sometime last year, and man, it just took off. It just took off, and it's very inspirational to see how it just goes from, we need this, and immediately they go and think of Bubble. They go and just try Bubble. So another example, Hello Prenup. These gals, they actually made it all the way to Shark Tank. A Bubble app in Shark Tank. That's impressive. At least for me, that's impressive. and they actually got funding. I'm not sure how much, but to me, it's like, look, already it's out there. How many? Definitely, there's a lot of software in Shark Tank out there sometimes that they show demo, but seeing a no-code tool being used for an app like this is very impressive.
That's really interesting. Can I interrupt with a question?
Yeah.
Do you know if this Shark Tank group, if it was the co-founders that made the website with no code, or if they had a developer?
Yep. No, one of the gals out in there, she did it herself. So
That's cool.
and yeah, that's I I don't know what else to demo than like this is very, very cool, at least to me. So where do you start? Where are all these people hanging out? There's places where they're the most active. Okay, before I go and tell you where they are. So how do you start in this Bubble world? How do I make the Shark Tank, right? So where do you start? These are probably the top 4 resources I would recommend. Twitter. A lot of bubblers, they're very active on Twitter. We're always talking about how to do things in Bubble, how to hack things in Bubble, because it's no code. There's going to be limits. There's going to be hacks that we have to sometimes figure out how to do it because we don't have that flexibility to code. But as you can see, we can go very, very far. So let me just show you real quickly. I, in fact, made a post yesterday to kind of, hey, I'm going to do a talk. Can you guys share some resources so I can share with you guys? And as you can see, I got quite a few responses because we're out there just waiting for, I want to show my Bubble app. Look what I'm building. We're very active, and only thing you have to do if you're active on Twitter, just go to search, go to add Bubble, and you're gonna see all of the Bubble talk that is happening. There's definitely a few people that are very, I guess, in this Bubble world, famous or that we look up to. JJ is definitely one of them. And they share just tips and tricks how to be more proficient in Bubble. But anyway, I don't want to go on a tangent. So just to demo, like I found one Bubble app actually quite impressive. There was, I think it was this one, Question AI. This app is built in Bubble, and literally the whole I think idea of this is you write a paragraph. What was the example? You write a paragraph. Okay, let me pull this up over here. I write a paragraph about a topic, in this case, Elon Musk, and behind the scenes, you click generate questions. It will generate a questionnaire from that text. This is using GPT-3 and some AI and some modeling behind the scenes, but all of that was built without any line of code. But how do you get the GPT-3 in there? Again, Bubble is powerful enough to allow you to connect APIs and talk to this GPT-3 world or service. So anyway, this is just one example, another example of what Bubble can do. All right. So why? Okay. So Twitter's a good place to just get acclimated into Bubble. Buildcamp. I'm a big fan of Buildcamp. This is how you make your Bubble apps look good. But but it's far more than that. This is how you actually build high quality Bubble applications, because you're gonna see a lot of apps, a lot of Bubble apps thrown out there, and they might look a little, oh, this looks a little not good, or a little like, I don't know, like from a decade ago, like, oh man, it's not polished, it looks weird. And Bubble has this, I guess, bad look into that, like, these apps, they don't look powerful because just they don't look good enough, I guess, to the eye, and we are immediate to criticize that, okay, this app doesn't look good, so it's probably doesn't work that good because the UX is bad, the UI is bad, whatever. So, but Buildcamp is by far the resource I go to understand how to build, I guess, more polished looking applications. So again, I'm very biased. I like to think that I build high quality apps, and just some of the stuff I want to show you that I built. Okay, let me go here. I post some images. This is one app I built called RayCircle. The whole idea is that if you're gonna run a 5K, you might need some planning, a race event planning, pre-race, race day, post-race, and this is for your whole gang to kind of plan that race weekend with you. This is a Bubble app. Okay, tiny launch. The whole premise of this, again, I'm just demoing, showing you how a Bubble app can look like. It doesn't have to look very, very primitive. And the whole idea is just to a person start being creative. If you have ideas, just put it in here and you can start and build your apps from there. And another, okay, this is just more of a landing page that I have built all in Bubble. So anyway, we can make things look very polished in Bubble, because you're gonna see a lot of folks pick up Bubble, throw some stuff out there, and it might not look as clean. So then other folks might be like, this is still a very primitive tool. I don't think I can take it far enough. So again, Buildcamp is by far a tool I use to build high quality apps. And of course, where Brenton found me, Bubble forums, we're very, very active there. Folks, there's still no replacement for Bubble forums or where to ask your questions. Again, some of them might not be answered because we don't know the answer to it, or the question might have already been asked, and you have to use the search button to kind of see if your question had been asked before. But more often than not, people are kind. So definitely it's a good resource. I'm gonna share with you guys. Every day I wake up, this is one of the first websites I go to. I wake up I open my Bubble Forums app and I just look over all the questions and stuff that are being shared. I don't know, it's very addicting. So, okay, one more thing. And of course, the Bubble YouTube channel, I think they're doing a better job kind of teaching you the basics of Bubble. Very, very good resource. They had a demo day. This is where they have a lot of folks out there kind of build Bubble apps. I think in 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And the whole premise is like they get funding for on the winner, and they build actual businesses from this. So it's a good program. I actually help a lot of the founders in here to kind of enhance their UI. The Bubble folks kind of asked like anybody out there can help, and I went there, and these folks have learned how to use Bubble fairly quickly. So I know they had no experience and they build very high quality apps in a matter of weeks. You guys can definitely do that. All right, so there's some questions in here that Brenton want me to make sure I cover, and I'm gonna cover it. Can someone make money as a Bubble developer? 100%. There are different ways actually to do this. One way, if you master the tool, let me just go to Bubble Marketplace. I think any big platform out there, they have a marketplace of sorts. People sell their templates. So if you have a very good eye for design, make a template and just put it out there and sell it, and people will buy it. People will buy it. That there was actually a statistic out there that was shared a few weeks ago. People are downloading this stuff. People are paying for this stuff. So definitely this is one way. You build templates and you make money from templates. Another way is plugins. So let me just show you. Is there a paid one right here? They're paid ones, 100%. They're paid ones. Another way is plugins. So if you're coding, if you learn how to code and you're becoming more and more proficient, the Bubble platform has this thing called plugins, which is ways to kind of enhance your app. One example is that, okay, why do they have this in the first place? There's a limited number of engineers that Bubble can have. Like they can hire all the engineers, so they cannot build all the features. So we need plugins to enhance this platform. And some of these plugins are actually subscription based. And let me show you if I can find one. The Zoom things cover me. Okay, I have plugins. Let me put confetti. I think this was one. Right, add confetti to your app. I can either pay 20 bucks or $4 a month. As you can see, 136 apps are using this confetti app. To build this, it's not really that hard. It's probably just some jQuery, some CSS. But people are downloading this stuff because they're already in this Bubble world. They don't want to go to the coding world, start wiring this up for their Bubble app using some HTML, CSS, or JavaScript. They might as well just come here, buy for 20 bucks, or subscribe, and they have confetti in their apps. So you can definitely make money if you're learning how to code and you want to help out the no-code world. So templates and plugins is one way. Another way is freelancing. This world is very new, and there's a lot of people not willing to spend the time to learn this. But they know that this is another avenue than spending $20,000, $30,000 on an app with code to be built. They can have someone build it much cheaper. And this is very real. So just to give you one quick example, again, this actually just came in today on my messages. Has someone kind of reached out, named Daniel. He probably found me on Twitter, me just sharing my stuff, what I'm building, and he's just wondering like, hey, Paul, how much would it cost for me to have a job board being built? that has functionality like Web3, that career, and a template like this. So he wants me to use a template like this in Bubble and to have functionality like Web3 jobs. Most likely post a job for $99, and he just kind of wants to have a rough estimate. Now, again, this won't come immediately for you if you're just starting out in Bubble. So, but one way I found when I get these requests is because I share my stuff a lot on Twitter. Anything I built or anything that I feel I'm very confident to share, I still very, very afraid like to share everything. I go ahead and just post it on Twitter. Like just a week ago, the audacity of Bubble to give me so much building power. So stuff like this, I post, and people, I like to go to the view to the tweet activity to kind of see how many people visit my profile. And now what I'm doing is like, okay, if people are going to my profile, let me make sure I enhance the cover so that way I get some new business if someone's coming to visit my Twitter page. So this is just one way if you want to go to the freelancing route in Bubble. So definitely, you can make money as a Bubble developer. You can freelance, build templates, plugins. But also another real way, you can make money yourself. I'm making money with this app. I built soccerteam.io. This app is for anyone that loves soccer and they have friends that they want to play together, but they want to come up with formations. They want to communicate with each other. I built this in Bubble. As you can see, I'm charging $5 so that way they can send messages, schedule games, do different formations, and how it looks like when they actually sign up for the platform. It's like this. So this is your team. Let's say my team is 7 people. I want a 2-3-1, and this is my team: Paul, Brenda, Sergio, Steven, Nick. So why did I win this route? Like, because I didn't see nothing out there that was exactly what I needed. I saw the formations part. I saw this feature out there, but I didn't see one that had this, that I had a way to schedule, a way for me to invite players, send announcements, and manage all my billing. Like this didn't exist. So I figured, let me spend, this took me about a week to 2 weeks to get a full build in Bubble. And voila, I was
That's
making money.
amazing.
Thank you. So it's possible. This is definitely possible. Now, where you're gonna find, just like any software developer, even no coder or coder, to get people to actually download and use and pay is very hard. That's another topic for another day, but marketing is very hard. So, but the build part, you can definitely do it in Bubble and stuff like this. I like to focus on apps that are very more niche, and this is definitely one example. All right, so yeah, you can make money in Bubble. Now, what kind of skills will be needed to succeed as a Bubble developer? I didn't really know how to answer this because I don't think you do need any. But one thing I will say, man, it's kind of so cliche, but persistence. As I said, I'm very religious. When I wake up, I look at Bubble forums. So I'm digesting this stuff every day. I'm very, very in this learning mode still. I'm trying to learn as much as I can because I know there are folks out there in the Bubble world that are, at least from my perspective, that were so far ahead from me. But even that, when you compare yourself to someone that is very good at what it does, and you're trying to just kind of trail behind, you're going to become very good at it. So if you're persistent, if you're willing to take the time to actually learn the platform, because it's not perfect, the platform definitely has a lot of stuff that you might have to hack your way around it. And that's why persistency is very key, because you have to go to the both forums, search for the kind of the issue that you're facing, and read through probably 20, 30 responses, how people have solved it. And that's what I'm talking about, is to give up. Like it's no different than the coding world. You go to Stack Overflow, you have to read through all the different answers. You don't have the, I guess, the luxury of like getting away from that. So anyway, definitely, I will say persistency, but no technical experience whatsoever. It definitely helps. So how can Bubble be useful for people who are not planning on being Bubble developers? I think I already covered this. If you're not planning to be a developer in Bubble, is for how Bubble will be useful is for folks that are just like myself. They just want to test an idea. They just want to go and build a SaaS product fast, very fast. They don't have the time to go and knowing how figure out, okay, which build tool I'm going to use now to deploy this React app, or okay, what am I use from a backend? Okay, am I going to use Redux and all this? I myself, even though I'm a developer, I do not like to think about this stuff. I want to get to the full build. I want the users to start testing, because I already know marketing is the hardest thing for any software product out there. There's too much software. There's too much software. So I want to get a build fast. So if definitely if you're tinkering with an idea, Bubble is going to be your friend. So how will learning Bubble affect those on a career path to software engineering? So this one, I think they both can go hand in hand. As I said, right now, the Bubble cannot build all features, but if you can code that feature yourself. Bubble gives you that flexibility through plugins. As you saw, if I want to add confetti, I didn't have to buy the plugin. I can just go online, find code, how to do the confetti, and put it in my Bubble app. I didn't have to buy the plugin. So don't think you have to pick one or the other. You can definitely try both. If you want to try an idea, you can go ahead and just run with it with the Bubble platform, but also know how to code, because the Bubble platform gives you already a high level view how web apps in general. Why do I say this? Because as soon as I'm gonna have the Bubble platform in a bit, but you're gonna see how databases are set up, how deployment happens, how if your Bubble app is there's a lot of users, how many resources or how many servers you might have to up the capacity to handle that amount of volume. So anyway, it does give you engineering concepts on the Bubble platform. It's not wasted whatsoever. So definitely, I think Bubble has done a good job on that. All right, questions. Oh, before I go to questions, let me share you one stat. Again, this guy JJ, I look up to him. He actually asked a question about how much Bubble developers earn. This was very interesting to me. All right, he gets a lot of DMs for people looking to get jobs done. So he said, in general, I'm seeing companies most commonly look for intermediate dev, Bubble developer, 60 to 70 that have training grown and grow together with. So you can be an intermediate bubbler very quickly. It won't take you that long. I'm not gonna tell you a week, but definitely after a few weeks, you can start build some very crazy stuff in Bubble, and people are paying for this stuff. In this case, you can say $60,000 to $70,000, and definitely if you have the coding in there, easily you can go 100 plus. Today, knowing code, knowing how to build software, we're needed, we're wanted. So this is our world. And no code, it's just gonna shed more light to it, because what's going to happen is that no code world, they're going to see more apps being built with no code, but at some point, no code is going to reach that limit. Like, okay, there's too many users, because the Bubble platform is built in code, and there's a lot of stuff to do behind the scenes that you're going to see at 100K plus users. This is just one example. The apps suffer a little bit because it's not native code. So most likely than not, the founder, whomever built this, they're going to start to go, let me just rebuild this with code. I think it just makes sense now. We have funding, we're getting users. So it's a world for both. The pie just gets bigger. Yeah. I wanted to open up for questions before if anybody's interested, I can show how I build Commitify. But I wanted to open up for questions for whomever has any. Yep.
I do have one. How do you do the authentication on your soccer team app, and how do you connect to the database? And do you know where the database is hosted? Like, is it the Bubble
I think
website?
Bubble. So Bubble behind the scenes uses AWS, and authentication is all done through Bubble. They do it all for me. So let me just show you real quickly. Soccer team. That might be a little. Let me show you what I'm doing for Commitify. So this is the menu builder in the slides. I'm gonna go to entrar, which is just login. In here, I'm gonna put. You don't have to have an account. You just put your name, or your email, and behind the scenes, I figure out if you're a new user or not. So in here, I'm using Magic Link. So it's another way to authenticate yourself. I'm gonna wait until I get the link. But how is this wire up? So this is the Bubble platform. This is the landing page. The login. I'm just opening up these components. As you can see, it's all very boxy. So in here, I want to focus on the button. The stuff on the right, there's something called workflow. You can imagine this as the code of this no code. But what it really is just, I like to think of it as just some if and else conditions with some magic in there. So I'm gonna go to how's this magic link set up. So if I go to start workflow, again, this is the element that I'm referencing. I have something called, I'm sketching an API workflow. So this is actually some functionality happening behind the scenes. So how that looks like, to answer your question, Bubble provides me this service for me, send magic login. And what I need to do, I just need to put the email, and Bubble will behind the scenes send this to whomever put that email. There's a lot of different flows here that will have set up so that way you can tell if a user has been already creating their menu or is a brand new user. So I see that I got the link. I'm gonna go to my actual menu. So you can see I already have some stuff that are populated from the past. So if I go to just kind of preview my menu, how it will look on desktop, this is how it looks on desktop. So, but if I wanted to, let's say, hey, people, my users are not comfortable with the Magic Link for some reason. I get to know this, and they just want the regular login and password. I'll go back to my app. I will get rid of all these workflows behind the scenes, and I will registrate. This is the registration. So remember if I remember this, this is how I reference my elements. In this case, I'm calling this input register email address input. So I should put this up as password. So I'm going to put this as password. So now, if I start this workflow, Bubble has this thing called, in this section called account. I can sign up the user. I reference the email. Again, the key is to remember how you name your element. So I'm referencing my element. I'm getting the value of that element. I'm getting the value of this element password. And now, if I preview this, this is debug mode. As you can see on the top, it says version test debug mode. But one thing I want to do, let me hide the zoom thing, disable. Okay. Let me see here. I need to, I'm trying to get a path for that specific view. Let me do this. Just one thing that sometimes I do forget is over here, navigation, go to page. I'm gonna go to my page. View. This is just to get to that page. So ignore this little step. I just want to get to that page, to that registration page. So here I am. So I wired that up, the registration, the email, and the password. So now, before I do any magic here, this is how, let me show you a little bit of the database. This is how the database looks like in Bubble. We have the types that you're going to have in your application. In this case, I have store, product, order, customer, categories, cart items. There's also a tab called privacy, where you can set up different privacy rules for your data types. In this case, I'm going to focus on user. I'm actually going to look at the data, app data, go to user. We have two users in that mode. My name, my normal email, and hello, tinylaunch.code. So now if I word this correctly, I'm going to put Brandon@gmail.com and I'll put test. So I'm registering him. I just registered him. So if I did this correctly, I'm going to refresh now this data and I see him. So now he's a user. So now he's a user.
Except that's
now,
not my real email address. So don't try and send that to me.
Yeah, definitely. And don't spam this person. But now this is not how apps look like today. As soon as you register, you go to some place. So most likely you go to the dashboard. So how I'll do that, I will go back to my Bubble app. I'm like, okay, I missed that step. I'm in this, again, in this mode of this button workflow. So I sign up the user. Now, if I want to go to that specific dashboard page, I'll go to navigation, go to page, click on dashboard. I'm going to send this user, which I just created, refresh this. I'm going to name this user now, user@gmail.com. And now I'm the dashboard. So this kind of just gives you a sneak peek of it's all just a bunch of clicks. And as you guys can see, I'm just constantly referencing the database over here. And how do I set up the logic is to okay, when do I want to kick off the logic? In this case is during this button. So anyway, hopefully that gives you an idea how I do authentication. And
thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
To design your own plugins, what language do they use to create those?
jQuery. I believe it's jQuery and just raw JavaScript. There's definitely, okay, so let me look at this one. You can actually see the code. This plugin itself called Toolbox is probably the, if not the most popular one, close to being the most popular plugin used in the Bubble world. You go to, this is how you build plugins. This is how it looks like. So if you look at a function here in action, just raw JavaScript. Do I know how this is set up? Not really. I haven't tried to build plugins myself. I try to stick with Bubble. I feel that if I'm trying to stay away from code, I'm gonna try to be in that line. But to answer your question, is jQuery just regular JavaScript?
How long did it take you to learn Bubble once you started?
Oh, I actually tried Bubble 2 years ago, and I tried it for a week, and I gave up. I felt this looks clunky. I don't like this, and maybe it was just my nature of like, I want to push something out there and I don't want to learn this whole platform. So I didn't give it enough respect, I guess, 2 years ago. But when I came back and I actually took the time to learn this platform, it wasn't more than a month before I started building some complex stuff. So about a month, at least for me, to get proficient. But if you want to be building SaaS product like this with, okay, so it becomes hard to know, okay, how do I lay stuff out? Like in here, as you guys can see, I have 3 different sections, 3 things called view, login, view, register, and view landing. I could have just put those in different pages, but why I'm setting it up in just one page is because as far as I have experience in the past, it's much faster, a lot faster. So I put them in just a single page. Why did I start putting the dashboard on a different page? Is because actually Bubble behind the scenes, we have moved to Flexbox. So things have become quite fast, and overall Bubble performance are becoming quite fast and better and more flexible. I feel more confident now to start putting my pages in different slugs and different URLs. So anyway, to be, I guess, an intermediate Bubble developer definitely will be a few months, 2-3 months. It just really depends, just like coding, right? How much time you devote to learning the language. So anyway.
I have a question.
What's up, Gene?
Hey, Paul. Paul and I work together. My question is, how much, if any, an advantage does a developer or someone with developer experience coming to a Bubble or no code have over maybe someone that has no like technical background?
So how much? Okay, so someone with no technical versus someone with technical background. So I think some experience, I might be a good case for this. I have seen the web grow, and going to Bubble wasn't that difficult. It wasn't like, oh my God, like what is this database? How do I, like if I go to settings over here, and I start going through the different tabs, and I see SEO, I see meta tags, I see API, I wouldn't be like, oh my goodness, like what is all this stuff? But definitely for someone who's new, this stuff is already intimidating. It's already like, okay, why do I need this in the first place? What is this called? Sub apps, versions, like why? There's a lot of why there. So there's definitely an advantage. So that's why I say if you're just starting out, do both. Like if you're eager to test an idea, go with Bubble, but don't give up on the code. Like I think you will be. It's very rare to find folks in the no-code world who are really good bubblers, but very good also coders. It's usually one or the other. So JJ is one example who again, I keep referencing him. He knows both. He's a very, very good developer, but he's a very, very good bubbler. And when he posts tweets, if we shares tips, stuff like that, we listen because he's been there. So there's definitely an advantage. So hopefully that answers your question, Eugene.
That's good. Thanks.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time to when you first chose to actually give Bubble a try after the initial hesitation started, what advice would you give yourself as you begin to engage with learning it and building with it?
Okay, so if somebody tells me, or if I can see Paul 3 years ago, definitely don't give up on the first try. It's so powerful, and I think these resources that I talked about, I would immediately go and reference this to Paul 2-3 years ago. But more than that, I think one thing I will push him to do more: join Bubble communities, join Bubble groups. There's this niche communities of bubblers. Let me just open my Slack. There's one called the Bubble Group. Literally, I think JJ is the one that created this group, and they share like stuff from, I don't know, sign talk and like they ask questions on different technical stuff. I think being very involved here gives you that, okay, Paul's here learning with us, but he's also sharing stuff. So it gives you that presence, you know, he's part of the group. And when you ask questions, you will get your questions answered a lot quicker, or they will be more willing to jump on a call with you and kind of work together. Or if they have an idea or they have some business that they want to give to you, they're going to go ahead and just give it to you. So definitely being involved, I will have given told myself, like, do that more, Paul, 2-3 years ago. Right now, I feel like I'm doing that more and I'm seeing a lot more benefits. But this is still early days. And for some reason, the past 2-3 months, I have seen a huge inflow of people interested in Bubble. Actually, Bubble have raised funding a few months ago, I think $100 million, and they have started doing a lot more marketing, maybe using that funding, and that's why we're seeing a lot more people interested in Bubble in general, in just no code. So definitely be involved in the community, make friends. Twitter's a good place for that. So yeah.
You're encouraging me to get back on Twitter. I gave up on it a few years ago.
You don't have to. Maybe just the Bubble forums will be enough. But I will tell you, you will be missing out on some good stuff. At least sometimes I get very, man, people are doing so much good stuff out there. Like it feels like everyone's so sophisticated with their tweets. Like they're sharing all these nuggets, all this knowledge, and I'm just here bookmarking because I can't keep up. But it's good to at least, you know, be immersed in this world. So that way when you're trying out new stuff, like it's not so new to you. Like you don't feel that you're alone here. But anyway, yeah. Any other questions? You want to see any more demos?
Real quick, how
Any-
can people join that Slack workspace, the bubble group? Is it invitation only?
I think it is. I DM'd Jade, and he passed on that link to me. So I'm wondering if that's because maybe he's trying to keep it bubble focus mainly. So definitely, if I were you, I would DM him, be like, hey, I'm learning bubble. I want to be learn what you guys are doing, participate. I'm pretty sure he'll let you in. Any other questions, guys? This is Bubble in a nutshell. Hopefully I cover some good stuff. Hopefully I inspire you to give Bubble a chance, or at least, you have, I will say this, like, I have been trying so many SaaS products, so many. But before Bubble, it was always through Webflow or Card, or I was using other tools like Zapier and Integromat to wire all this functionality. It wasn't enough. It was very clunky. It just didn't get me too far. So I gave up. I was like, man, software tools are not there yet. I'm going back to the coding world. And when I would go back to the coding world, all these new tools will have been built already, all these new frameworks. I'm like, oh my goodness, there's more stuff to learn. It never stops. But now but again, I'll say this, it pays good money. So it definitely pays good money. So if, like, even my girlfriend's learning how to code, and I encourage her every day, hey, if you have some problem, let's work on it together. Or like, she's actually learning React. I'm supposed to be the one at the expert React at my job, but I think she's already way more far ahead than me. All because she's just very persistent. She goes online, just takes the courses, and she does the example. She spends the time, and it's, if you have no one to encourage you, it's very, very hard. It's really hard. And so that's why I will encourage you to friends. I'm open. I'm gonna share my email, my Twitter on the Slack group. If you feel like, Paul, no code's cool, but tell me more about your coding world. Like, how do you learn this stuff too? I'll be happy to go and answer those questions for you. So don't learn alone. It's very frustrating. So yeah, that's one message I would like to say.
That's a very Refcode type of message. Don't learn alone. We're here as a community to learn together all kinds of whatever you're interested in, and people bring different things, and we help each other out. So it's awesome that we've got some. So by the way, I also am starting to learn some Bubble. So we're gonna have some Bubble knowledge at Refcode now.
Sweet.
I have to say, I was watching you it was amazing watching you so quickly build a new feature on your app. I've been writing software for over 15 years, and it boggles my mind to think, in comparison, how long it would take. I know how to do all of what you did with code. It's not a problem. It's easy to me, easy in the sense that I know all of the steps. But to do what you just demoed in like a couple minutes, it would take probably hours, depending on how things are set up and how well the code that I'm working with is written. It could take days, if I'm working on a very large enterprise system, and just watching you, even doing things like passing the data. I'm thinking about in React, where you pass data through parameters. It's just kind of like cumbersome, and it's not anything that's difficult. It's just, here's the variable name, it needs to get passed to that one. Here's the same variable name, it needs to get passed to that one, same variable name again. And then in Bubble, you just went click, 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 and you're done. And it kind of, as I've been looking at Bubble, what strikes me is how Bubble takes away the parts of programming that are laborious and cumbersome and just take time for no reason. They're not hard, it just takes time. And obviously Bubble has its limitations, but I feel like that's maybe one of its strengths, is that it removes cumbersome work that doesn't need to be cumbersome, that's not hard. And instead you're focusing on what is hard. How do I actually solve the problem?
Yeah, you can, at least when I was doing my products that I wanted to build for the world with code, I will start with the idea, and to get into the code, I'll be like, no, Tailwind has a new update. I might want to, try that, give that a shot. So I will spend too much time, thinking about the framework, the library, am I using the most modern tools, and really be so far away from what I'm trying to do in the first place. That's not a good place to be. It's a good place to be if you're employed, if you want to do that for your employer, if you want to showcase your skills, stuff like that. But not if you want to do something out there for someone, for your business, for like, if you're just thinking, I want to build a product and just sell it. I've seen so many examples building Bubble apps. After a week, they just sell it on these marketplaces, 2, 3, 4, 5K. Now this is just gonna keep growing, guys. So I will suggest definitely go to, if you're on Twitter, follow. Actually have. Let me share this link with you guys. A list called Bubblers, where I put all the Bubble, or where I think are the best Bubblers out there, and in one list. And this is all the stuff, all Bubble related stuff. Some might be more non-professional, but all Bubble stuff. And it'll be a good place for you guys to at least get immersed in this world. I'll put in also in the chat.
Does anyone else have any questions we want to ask? Okay, well, I'm gonna we'll finish up here in a minute. And like I said at the beginning, normally we would applaud at the end to thank Paul. So that doesn't work well on Zoom. So I'm going to invite those of you who want to just take a moment and speak to Paul and tell him something. I don't know, just anything, a good word. And I'll start and I'll say, Paul, I really appreciate what you did tonight, showing us the whole spectrum of no code, and also your story was really fascinating to hear. And that you showed us a bunch of different apps, and I really loved watching you do live coding in front of us. That was amazing. It was like watching your fingers fly. You really know what you're doing, but also we can see that it's not too intimidating. Everybody knows how to use software, and you showed us that we can learn the software, and made it kind of, you showed us that it's something that we can learn. So I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Paul, thank you so much for your time. I'm a student, as a computer science student, and they teach us the very hard way in school, using Java programming and all different languages, and it just like made it so much easier to build something from scratch. And the way you presented the Bubble, it makes it even easier for me to understand, even though I'm not a professional. I haven't been in the field for so long. I'm in the learning process. I truly appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
Thank you for coming, Malik. Yeah, thank you for the words.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Java. That was my first programming language I learned.
Mm-hmm. So they still use it in school. you know, they still use the same, even though like right now, like in as I search, you know, not many you know, professional company or professional software engineer still uses Java nowadays, but it's a base programming language that they prefer to use it, and so we can learn I think the easier languages starting from Java.
Yep. As far as I remember, I think it's still very popular at school here, and like they're still used as an intro language, or maybe Python now. But yeah, definitely that was my first language I learned. I don't even know if I know how to compile Java still. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you.
I also want to take a second to thank you, Paul, for helping me kind of get past the overwhelm of trying to take in all the programming languages. And it's nice, it feels simple, it's reduced. I'm already thinking ahead to next week's Tech Talk where Erin Shaw is going to be speaking, and she is a Java developer. And so I'm a bit proactively anxious about everything that I will learn a week from today. But this is very, very insightful. And you did such a thorough job of stripping it down to its simple aspects for it to feel approachable. And I have a lot of digging to do to figure out if it's something I want to learn more of. So thank you.
We're always welcoming new bubblers. I'm an advocate for bubble now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a good information. Especially like if we got a new idea, so rather than waiting for like years to build it by ourselves, we can see our ideas just quickly. And also, I saw that we can inject our code there. Yeah? So maybe if we build like a backend code, we build the front one like easily, then we can connect that, and I think ideas can be what's called published quickly.
100%. If you have any questions, just DM me in the chat, and I'll be happy to kind of show you. Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much.
Paul, I appreciated your emphasis on persistence and just knowing how important that is in the software and development industry, just how far that'll take you, even more than just knowing certain facts and data, but just working hard. And I know that's such an important part of the process.
One thing thank you, first of all. One thing I will say on that, I still feel after 10 years of coding that I don't know what I'm doing at my job. It feels so horrible. And I see in the call Eugene joined. I see him as the one that knows how to code, and I go to him for questions. And I think that started because when I started to learn how to code, I told Eugene, you know, I have this Weebly app, this HTML. I want this thing to happen. And he literally just used some CSS. I was shocked. I was like, oh my goodness, you did that in a website? That showed me the big power of, you know, code like CSS. And like, to me, I'm still shocked by that. But anyway, yep, definitely persistence.
Thank you for your time, Paul, and was very cool that like you can you showed that you can focus more on the product you're trying to build than instead of the coding part, but you can still you can still learn like the logic behind the authentication, like the connection to the database, all of that. So even though if you can start with the no code, but you can still like go to the coding words after, because the logic will be the same. You just apply like differently, like Brenton was saying. Take more time to implement, but the logic I think would probably be the same.
100%. I think at the end of the day, let's never forget, you're building this for someone, right? And they don't care how you did that. They care about the experience of it, like how it behaves, if it's glitchy, if it's like, how does it feel? But if you know how to use Bubble and build it with good foundations and make it look very, very polished, it is still as good as anyone that do that in React or Angular. But thank you.
That was a very long round of applause. I'm sure there are other people who want to chime in and say thank you as well. So if you do, I'll let you just do that on Slack. Paul is on our Refcode Slack workspace. So like he said, he's going to share a little bit of information so you can get in touch with him. And I'll make sure that we have some links to some of the resources he mentioned, like the Twitter guy to follow, the Bubblers group, etc. So we have the opportunity, this is amazing opportunity to not only learn from Paul, but continue to have him helping us out. So that's really great. And I think with that, we're gonna cut it off. The king has to leave the building at some point. We can't just keep applauding all night long. So thank you everybody for coming. And by the way, if you are not part of Refcode and you're not in our Slack workspace, go on to refcode.org and subscribe to our updates so that you can hear about the new things coming in the future, new events. And reach out to me through one of our forums on refcode.org, and I'll get you connected to our Slack workspace so you can be a part of our community. All right, thank you, Paul, and thanks everybody. We'll see you later.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenton.
Thank you. Have a good night.